Right, good morning, everyone. I think we've got a decent number now coming through, and I'm sure a couple more will appear as we get started. So that's it. Good morning and welcome to today's webinar as part of the Sizewell C Supply Chain Business Support Programme, and today being how to enter the nuclear sector. My name is Ashley Shorey Mills. I'm the Sizewell C Supply Chain Engagement Director here at the Chamber of Commerce. And obviously, we've been involved in this project now for 13 years, working very closely with EDF and now more latterly Sizewell C to help deliver on the local and regional supply chain commitments that has been made throughout this process. We've done the supply chain business support program now for about the last 12 months. We have something in the region of 14, 15 different webinars that we have hosted on different subject matters, from skills to social value, and plenty more, all with an aim to kind of help you as businesses gear up as much as you possibly can in advance of the potential requirements that are going to be ahead for local and regional firms on Sizewell C. As a reminder, we are recording today's webinar. We record all of these, post them on our website so that you can go back and look over them in the future should you want to. And we always say it's worth having a little look at some of the other subjects we've covered, because as we start to embark and more businesses winning contracts on site, which is always great to see, that actually some of the subjects that are covered become even more prevalent, and it's important to go back and view over them. As I say, our team is there to support you. We have a team of 7 within the chamber that are dedicated to helping businesses really understand where they're going to be required and the ways in which to be required on Sizewell, and to help create those environments for collaboration and working together. The purpose very much of today is really to help understand that routes to support for those of you who maybe want to get into the nuclear sector, or actually are a business that wants to get into the wider energy sector and is going to have to take steps to help them on that journey. Then you're going to hear today from a couple of our speakers that will help you understand the ways in which that support is available. So like I said, both for the construction of Sizewell C, but then for the longer term operation of the likes of Sizewell C, Sizewell B, through the decommissioning of sites such as A. And obviously most recently you'd have seen the news in the last few days, not about the general election, but about Wilfer, the site in Anglesey, very much being earmarked for the next large-scale nuclear power plant. I'll quickly show you the agenda for today. So we've got myself, and I'll give a brief intro, as I always like to, on our role. We have Nicola from NSAN here today to talk about their support to businesses who are getting into the nuclear sector. We have Richard from West Suffolk College to talk more locally about the support programs that we have in place for businesses wanting to enter the energy sector, particularly looking at Sizewell from our perspective, but actually across the board, those best practices. And then, as always, we will have ample time for a Q&A at the end. Now, the Q&A, we always like to have as many questions as possible. We tend to find that that's where we get the most out of a lot of our webinars, really hearing from you, the questions you've got. So please, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see we've got the Q&A icon. Put all of your questions in there throughout the entire presentation. It can be anything from the project itself to things that we're doing as a chamber, but also particularly if you've got questions of NSAN or West Suffolk College, to help understand and ask questions of them, of their support and the things that are involved. We want to hear from you, so please use them as much as you can, and we'll have ample time to cover it. We also obviously have the chat function, and we always like to hear from you. So please, let us know if you're already working on site, if you've already won contracts, because that's always great for us to hear and see. But also let us know if actually you're already working in the nuclear industry. Are you working on A or B up at Sizewell? Are you working on other sites, maybe down at Hinckley, or some of the decommissioned sites around the UK, or even the Bearmouth that is Sellafield? Let us know if you're already in the industry, so we can kind of understand from a local perspective who's out there and what's happening. And maybe we've helped you get on site. I know there's some of the businesses today where we've actively been supporting you to win those contracts, or maybe the webinars have helped. So please use the chat function. Let us know your experiences, because they all help us. And we always look back over the transcripts afterwards of how we can support more in the future. So just a brief run through, as I always like to do, to remind those on the webinar who maybe haven't done one of our webinars before. Some have never had our team come and present to them or been to our events, that we're here for these 4 key themes. And first and foremost, it is local. The project, Sizewell C itself, made various commitments to the local and regional supply chain in the East. And, that's most notably through those commitments to the supply chain of 4.4 billion. And I'll touch on some of the detail on that in a moment. But we like to ensure that if the project's going to commit to local, that actually we as the East can commit to local as well. So that's around employing local people and giving those opportunities to as many people as possible. That is around expanding the skills provision that we have. And very much that's what today is going to be part of. That we do look at the opportunities that are coming, both directly on Sizewell, but indirectly as a result of it. And very importantly for us, how we create that collaboration and working together ethos. It is a bit of an alien concept sometimes, but on a project the scale of this, where you don't just need a construction company, you don't just need a training company, you need all of them to really get involved. It's so important that we help businesses understand how to work together and also where they fit within the supply chain. And that becomes as part of the legacy, how we grow businesses in the most sustainable and proportionate way. Because what we don't want is businesses gearing up for Sizewell, getting very excited, doing some work on there, and then post Sizewell, whenever that post Sizewell thing happens to your business, that actually you fail or have trouble keeping hold of those staff and have to make mass redundancies. We want to ensure we help businesses grow and take advantage of Sizewell, but in the best way that actually Suffolk survives afterwards. But actually, it's the whole region. Yes, we are the Suffolk Chamber of Commerce, but we're there to represent all 6 counties on this project. And also, it's not a chamber thing. You can be members of any organisation. You don't even have to be members of an organisation if you don't want to be. We're there to represent you and support and help you as much as we possibly can to create that legacy, to ensure that we get a much more diverse, inclusive, focused community across our businesses that really benefits Sizewell and then the other projects that are happening in this region. And of course, also fundamentally, Sizewell C is part of the UK government's net zero 2050 agenda. So if Sizewell is part of that decarbonisation mission, then how do we help businesses locally be part of that? Whether that's decarbonising of fuel, of fleet, of your operational model, any of those things that we can help you on that journey, because you in turn will be helping Sizewell. And as I say, that commitment, 4.4 billion, it's not every day that type of thing gets offered to a region. And we want to make sure that's maximised. So that's 4.4 billion through construction to the supply chain in this region. Of that, 2 billion must be spent in Suffolk. And the example we always give, because this whole project is about replicating Hinckley down in Somerset, Hinckley's report recently reported that they've now gone 5.3 billion across their regional split. So the evidence is there that this can happen, and it brings opportunities, it brings inward investment, it brings jobs. It's a massive, real massive opportunity for businesses to take advantage of. The other commitments in the North and Wales are there too, and we work very closely with our counterparts in those regions where they have specialisms that they are going to bring to Suffolk on how we bring local businesses into their supply chain as well. And as referenced earlier, because of news like Wilfer, this is now no longer just about Sizewell. It's about building a nuclear supply chain in the UK. So from Hinckley to Sizewell, and then from Sizewell to Wilfer, and wherever else these opportunities for large-scale plants and also small modular reactors happen around the UK. Now, our role and our promises and commitments around local supply chain content really fits into the social value scheme that Sizewell put at its heart of its procurement. They want to ensure that, of course, this project has to be on time and on budget and has to overridingly be focused on safety. But actually sitting underneath that is then the social value commitments that they've made. So the desire to use local is not just that. It's not just a desire. It's in contracts. It's part of their social value and ESG framework. So there is that need to use local firms. And ultimately, if you look at some of the other items on that diagram, when you're talking about reducing environmental footprint, when you're talking about investing in employment and skills and communities, one of the easiest ways for the larger organizations that are going to run this project to deliver that is to bring in local firms, because the more local the firm, the less fuel and less transport is needed. So you're reducing your environmental input. Local firms are already engaged with local schools and colleges and charity and voluntary sector organisations. They're already working in the communities. And we understand Suffolk better than any business is ever going to. So by using local firms, actually they tick so many aspects of ESG that's going to be so important. So it is vital that all businesses locally understand what social value means. And most of our webinars to date have been on these individual subjects. So again, if you weren't able to listen to them, please go back, because we've done them on each of those subject matters to help you understand how you can play your part in delivering social value on Sizewell. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, it's not all about the Chamber of Commerce. It doesn't matter what sector of business you're from. We want to hear from you. Please reach into us, and we can reach into the project on your behalf. So if you want us to present at events, to talk to your businesses, to talk to your organizations, if you've got different challenges, concerns, worries, opportunities, innovations that you really want to see Sizewell taking notice of, we're your route into that. So please reach out to our team at any time, and we will support you when appropriate to help you work your way into the project itself. As a final thing, just as what we do, it's things like today, that support to businesses before you're going to be needed on the project, but also just helping you understand those other parts of what's going to be expected of you, improving your business very much. And today, hopefully this will come clear that if we can get businesses ready for a nuclear project, then you're pretty much going to be ready for any project. So this is about upskilling and increasing the standards of Suffolk businesses as much as we possibly can. We'll help identify that funding and training. And again, we'll touch on that today, I'm sure. But also support you by running our portals, looking at the ESG commitments, and really being there as your route to find out who you need to be talking to on this project. So I will stop there, and I will hand over to Nicola, who will now talk to you from NSAN.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ash, and good morning, everybody. My name's Nicola Warwick. I'm Director of Operations at NSAN, National Skills Academy Nuclear, and I'm delighted to be here this morning with the opportunity to present to you all. So I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes or so talking about the exciting world of nuclear and how potentially you could all become involved. Next slide, please, Ash. I nearly forgot to tell you to move on then. Sorry, you can move on again, actually. So you may have noticed there's a bit of a nuclear renaissance going on, and what an absolutely exciting time to be involved in the nuclear industry. But a little bit about that, a little bit more about that shortly. So who are NSAN? We are proud to have celebrated our 16th birthday just a couple of months ago. We're originally formed 16 years ago on a membership model, but we now have 3 key business areas. But as you can see on the slide there, our vision is to be driving collaboration on skills to deliver a thriving nuclear future. Next slide, thanks, Ash. So NSAN is a not-for-profit organisation. We're not for loss either, and any residual income generated through our work across our 3 core areas, which you can see on the screen there, is reinvested into developing and delivering products and services for the nuclear industry. So in terms of membership, which still remains very much at the heart of what we do at NSAN, we work with organisations, both large and small, throughout the nuclear supply chain for both civil and defence nuclear. We also have a high-quality training provider network, which consists of universities, colleges, and private training providers, all delivering a range of different skills and training interventions. Collectively, we deliver high-cost, effective and practical skill solutions to support organisations like yours to thrive within the nuclear industry. In terms of the commercial work that we're involved in, we develop bespoke solutions to organisations ranging from e-learning development, and hosting to project facilitation, training needs analysis, and developing and delivering bespoke training solutions. And the final area of our work sits within competence and assessment. So we provide our members with a free-to-use industry-developed online competency management system, but a little bit more about that later. We also have Ofqual recognition as an endpoint assessment organisation for a number of apprenticeship standards within the nuclear industry. So that's enough about NSAN for the time being. Little bit more about you and the nuclear industry. Next slide, please, Ash. So as I said earlier, there's never been a more exciting time to be part of the nuclear industry here in the UK. And as Ash mentioned earlier, big announcement this week with regards to activity on Anglesey with Wilver. But as you can see on this slide, there's an array of opportunities open to companies like yours to become involved. Obviously, in terms of new build, we've had the announcement about Wilver this week, but also activity going on at Hinkley Point C and obviously Sizewell, why we're all here today. And lots of opportunities for companies to become part of the construction, manufacturing and operations supply chains. There's obviously the ongoing activities and work around decommissioning, which will actually see all of us undoubtedly on this session this morning, as it takes in excess of 80 plus years to fully decommission a nuclear site. So lots of opportunities for companies to become involved in managing nuclear waste, engineering and environmental remediation works. I'm sure you've all seen the excitement around small modular reactors, and there is significant government investment and backing to develop SMRs to support the UK to hit its net zero targets by 2050. Furthermore, there's ongoing opportunities across research and development, and equally export opportunities. And certainly here at NSAN, we've been inundated over the last sort of 6 to 9 months with requests from Europe and even from Australia to support the AUKUS project in terms of the defence nuclear piece. So again, right across the board, lots of opportunities for your organisations to become involved in the sector. Next slide, Ash, please. So what are the benefits of working in the nuclear industry? Long-term stability and revenue is absolutely at the forefront of the nuclear industry. And as I mentioned, certainly with the decommissioning and new build opportunities, there's lots of opportunity for companies that work in other industries and sectors to diversify their offering and become part of the nuclear supply chain. Once part of that nuclear supply chain, you can have access to expertise and technology from across the sector. There's always lots of opportunities for collaboration where companies can benefit from working with other organisations to further grow and develop their offering. And it goes without saying, reputation and credibility for organisations that have the ability to work within a high hazard industry or sector like nuclear. It will help to build your own reputation and potentially enhance your own credibility. Next slide, Ash, please. So, 2 questions for you to have a think about. does your company currently have the capability and technology to venture into new markets? And also, would you want to be involved in helping the country to reach its net zero targets? If so, NSAN can absolutely help and support you on that journey to hopefully diversify and take that next step into nuclear. Next slide, please, Ash. Thank you. So literally hot off the press is our Insight to Nuclear programme. Next slide, thanks. The programme combines expert-led training sessions with self-assessment exercises, providing you with the insight you will need to decide if nuclear is the next destination for your organisation. Next slide, thank you. This unique 14-week programme designed for companies with no prior knowledge of the nuclear industry will guide you through the complexities of the sector. We're capping the programme at a maximum number of 10 companies per group. So you'll have the support from an industry expert, access to a digital platform and group sessions to check your knowledge and understanding with peers and subject matter experts from across the sector. Next slide, Ash, please. So in terms of topics that are covered in the Insight to Nuclear programme, the programme is for companies who are not currently operating in the industry to help you understand more about the industry and therefore to be able to make an informed choice as to whether diversification is the right move for you. In terms of the topics covered, you can see them on the slide there. So we look at safety and security expectations. We will help you to understand the UK nuclear industry landscape, along with those all-important regulatory requirements and compliance. We'll also help you to understand the expectations of the nuclear supply chain and more about the procurement process to help you hopefully bid successfully for work within the sector. Next slide, Ash, please. So our GAIN programme, Growing Awareness in Nuclear, is about ensuring that you have a skilled, knowledgeable and SQEP, suitably qualified and experienced workforce to enable you to bid and ultimately undertake work in the nuclear industry. Our GAIN programme was originally developed during COVID to help support companies already working in the nuclear industry to onboard and induct their new recruits. So it was developed to be delivered completely virtually and remotely, which allows you to bring together individuals and companies that are dispersed throughout the UK, providing them with a comprehensive introduction and overview of the nuclear industry. There is the opportunity, once you have completed the programme, to go on and achieve a full level 2 qualification within the Award for Nuclear Industry Awareness. Or you may decide actually just the learning is enough for you and your employees, and that would then stand you in good stead to be able to develop opportunities to work within the sector and to demonstrate to the regulator that you have a competent workforce. Next slide, Ash, please. So these are just a number of organisations that we are currently delivering the GAIN programme to. Hopefully some names on there that you will be familiar with. And we deliver the programme to apprentices, graduates, so that whole early careers piece, as well as individuals that are transitioning from other industries and sectors. So it may be that you have electrical engineers, project managers that you're recruiting to your businesses that are experienced within their particular skill set, but you need to upskill them and nuclearize them in the nicest possible way, and the GAIN programme can help and support you to do that. Next slide, Ash, please. Thank you. So to wrap up my presentation today, I just wanted to highlight some of the benefits of working with NSAN and being part of our membership. We can provide you with an exclusive package of skills, expertise and support from our team of client relationship managers who will spend time to understand your specific goals and facilitate and signpost cost-effective solutions to improve your capability to operate within the nuclear industry. Next slide, please, Ash. This slide just highlights some of the areas that we can provide that support. So we have a nuclear-specific job site, which is currently free of charge to use for NSAN members. We can provide you with apprenticeship support, so advice and guidance and signposting to training providers on apprenticeship standards and obviously endpoint assessment. We can support you by undertaking training needs analysis and strategic workforce planning to understand the skill sets that you currently have available within your organisations and what skill sets and what people you will need to work on future nuclear projects and programmes. We've got industry developed training courses around safety, quality, codes and standards, along with access to our e-learning network. And we also have the skills and competency management system. Next slide, please, Ash. Skills Assured, which was developed by industry, which provides access to a master competency framework, which you can then use to benchmark your individuals in terms of looking at an industry standard. As I mentioned, Skills Assured is free to use for NSAN members and provides a secure online system for hosting training records and assessment of competence, which will help you ultimately to understand the SCWEPness of your workforce, to be able to demonstrate that to the nuclear regulator, along with helping you bid for work and identify skills shortages and gaps, helping to formulate recruitment decisions. Next slide, please, Ash. Thank you. I think it's probably my last slide. But if you'd like any further information or details, or to discuss how NSAN could support you, please do get in contact. Furthermore, we're delighted to open up three free places to companies on the session this morning to be involved in the Insight to Nuclear programme that I talked about earlier. So if you would like to be involved in that, please do drop us an email or pop that in the chat. As I say, that's 3 free places to companies on today's session. I think that's it from me for the time being. I know, Ash, we're going to come back to a Q&A session a little bit later, but I will hand over to Richard.
Thank you ever so much, Nicola. Good morning, everybody. Richard Stittle here, Head of Business Development for the Eastern Education Group. Next slide, please, Ash. So Eastern Education Group, I work for West Suffolk College. So Eastern Education Group is made up of 4 different areas now. So we have West Suffolk College in Bury St Edmunds, which is a large FE college, alongside Abbeygate Sixth Form in Bury St Edmunds, Suffolk 1 in Ipswich, and NCTC in Chatteris. Next slide, please. So we currently have around 2,000 live apprentices on the books with West Suffolk College, working with over 1,000 employers in the region now. And so our purpose in the Readiness Project is to make sure that we make all employers aware of all of the opportunities which exist in the energy sector, to make sure they're not missing out on anything. And we do this via visits to employers to highlight things via an OTNA. Next slide, please, Ash. So it would be myself or one of the other business development executives in my team who would visit to complete an organizational training needs analysis, OTNA for short, obviously. So this is a deep dive into each employer. It could be an employer who has 10 employees. It could be a multinational, where we would sit and make sure that we covered everything from short course to apprenticeship to degree-based learning. So it really is a deep dive to make sure that we are not missing anything, and more importantly, that you're not missing anything in terms of opportunities which are out there, in terms of funding streams, in terms of how to access all of the parts at the bottom there: nuclear, offshore wind, energy. So it could be anything, literally from you need some first aid courses to you need somebody to do degree level management. We also obviously have access to thousands and thousands of massively talented young people in the region who are now looking for next steps in their career, or potentially starting their career. So it could also be that part of the OTNA, we look to backfill any skills gaps, bring in the next generation of what will hopefully be nuclear engineers into the region, because obviously it's going to be a project that goes on and on and on. We can offer either, as it says there, off-the-shelf approach, which is looking at the products that we offer on our day-to-day apprenticeship or full cost delivery, or it could be a bespoke package where we identify a specific need for your company, which is then we would work with a specialist provider to be able to fulfill your needs for that. There are a number of different funding streams available. We would have a look at that for you. Our specialism obviously is from the ESFA. We could help you with in terms of using and making the most of your levy. I don't know if many of you are aware, but the amount of money that gets paid back to the government in unused levy funds each year is a phenomenal amount. So we would obviously be able to give you advice on doing that as well. Next slide, please, Ash. And listed there are a number of the different funding options which are available. Next slide, please, Ash. So the areas discussed in the OTNA, again, they are incredibly vast. So we try not to leave any stone unturned and give not just advice to employers, but also where we can to employees. What we tend to find with an OTNA is that we find that employers maybe are not always completely aware of everything that's on offer in terms of funding that the company can access. And what we also find is that employees are not aware that they can upskill. They're not aware of what training is available to them, not aware of potentially even how that would work, whether there be day release. We tend to find that a lot of people don't realize that they can become an apprentice at the age of, say, 45 and do a degree-based course. So it is kind of killing some of those myths as well when we do the OTNA, to make sure everybody is 100% aware of what they can do. The areas there, as it says, project management, massive one in health and safety going forward. And all of those areas would be covered to try to get the most out of everything possible for the training. Next slide, please, Ash. I'm not going to obviously ask you to read those case studies there, be squinting at the screen, but if you'd like to watch back the presentation today, it just goes into a little bit more detail, a couple of employer case studies of how they engaged with the project, what they were looking for, and the outcomes from that project. Now, that's really it for me today. The OTNA it's a completely free of charge service which we offer. It would just be getting in touch with us, where then we would come out, book a time, and sit down and go through everything with you. Again, making sure that with all of the massive opportunities in the region, in the energy sector, and the opportunities within your own companies, that we are covering all of those off for you to make sure that you are absolutely making the most of everything. Next slide, please, Ash. My details are on there alongside the apprenticeships inbox. If any of you have any questions, or you'd like to just contact us directly or contact myself directly, please feel free. Thank you very much. Ash, back to you.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Richard, and thank you to Nicola also as well. So a couple of quick observations, and I've got a couple of questions on here as well, which I'll raise, but try and do these on some sort of order. But just, I forgot to say at the start, obviously we will share the slides. So as normal, early part of next week, obviously not Monday because it's bank holiday, wonderful. We will make sure we get sent out to you a copy of the recording from today's webinar. All of the any responses to the questions that we're unable to give in a moment, but also copies of the slides and links and so on. So we'll share all that information with you to ensure you've got all the info you need. Interesting, Richard's points he just made there. I mean, the opportunities in the energy sector of this region are enormous. I think the last stat I saw is 63 billion, but the number just keeps changing all the time because, you know, with new nuclear alone, with Sizewell C, you've got B extending its life by another 20 years. You've got A now going in decommissioning, and that's in the billions as well. The unanswered question of Bradwell in Essex, obviously the opportunity for manufacturing of SMRs in this region. So the nuclear sector alone is vast. Then you add on the fact we have a very shallow seabed, so it's quite handy for offshore wind. Onshore will come back. Solar is massive. Hydrogen, the free ports. I mean, the opportunity is huge, and I think the key is, and speaking about the readiness programme that Richard and the team at West Suffolk College put together. You know, us as a chamber, we worked very closely in creating this, and we did that through. Of course, probably 18 months ago, we started this process, but we did that working with businesses as well to understand some of those ones that were already in the energy sector, that some of the headaches they had to deal with when they were on that journey. So very much those 8 areas that the college spoke about, that's very much about helping businesses just get ready for that first step into the energy sector, to help understand some of those areas. And that's come from your feedback. That's come from us working very closely with the colleges in partnership to help deliver this. And I think it's important to say, and Richard, what I'm always saying, you know, this is for colleges across Suffolk to deliver. Obviously, West Suffolk have took the lead on this. They're your point of contact. But if you're a business in Lowestoft, you know, reach out, because it's not that then, you know, you're going to be dealing with people in Bury. All of the colleges in the East work together on when it comes to the Sizewell project with regards to where the right and appropriate support needs to come from. So, you know, this isn't something that's sort of nailed down to a certain area, to a certain provider. This is just about how do we get businesses better at what they do. And when there's funded training support available, like this program that Rich has just been describing, we need to take advantage of it. And the same with then Nicola's point. I mean, there's lots of points that she made that really stuck out to me. But the fact that there's 3 free places for someone on this call today, that's just a benefit. Hey, we're going to claim credit for that. That's a benefit of being involved in our Sizewell C supply chain work that we're doing. But if you're a business that genuinely is looking at the nuclear sector, why not reach out to Nicola? Outside of this, drop her an email, connect on LinkedIn, etc., and just have that chat. And if it works and you get that chance, as I mentioned at the start, it will improve your business. Whether you end up working on Sizewell or not, it will make you a stronger, better business. And I have to say, squepness is a new word on me, Nicola. I like that. But I being in this job now for nearly 3 years, you hear SQUEP a lot, suitably qualified and experienced people. But it is so important, because if you're going to want to win work on Sizewell, it's not just having a policy for something. It's being able to evidence the competency of those people, those services, those procedures and policies that you have. So, if you've got a health and safety policy, fantastic. But is it evidenced? Is it shown that it's operational from top down? And these sorts of things are going to be where NSAN, West Suffolk College in this example, where they can support you in understanding those practices that you need. Again, it's just good practice anyway for day-to-day life. But actually, for projects like Sizewell, for more and more public sector procurement, it's even more critical that you evidence these things. And there is so much support out there. We're touching on 2 of it today, but there are loads of different energy sector organizations, both others for the nuclear sector, but also for other parts of the energy industry and other parts of the opportunities that are coming this way, that are there to help businesses. So please, again, as we always say, just reach out. Couple of questions actually, there is a question in the Q&A first. So we're an earthworks subcontractor who are interested in getting involved nationwide at all sites. Who are the contractors we need to contact? So I'll deal with that one first, because that's more to do with the project. So I can only really answer on Sizewell at this point, David, but that's part of our role. Okay, our focus is on the local and regional suppliers. But as a result of that, and I will talk about the portals in a moment, but we run the supply chain portal for Sizewell, which for national providers, and we encourage obviously all local and regionals to sign up, is on Compete For. So and I'll share this afterwards, but www.competefor.com/Sizewell C. That is where all opportunities on this project will be listed. And that's opportunities to work directly for the client. So in this case, Sizewell C, but also to work for their tier 1 and tier 2 at certain level contractors. So if I take earthworks as an example, currently they have not appointed the main earthworks contractors. There is small pockets of work currently, and it's great that we know there are local providers, Blackwell's being one of them, that are doing earthworks on site right now, and we're actively working with them. And I know a lot of the earthworks will be led by the Civils Alliance, which is made up of Laing O'Rourke, Bouygues and Balfour Beatty. And Balfour Beatty and the main are leading on the earthworks currently. But this is the type of thing that will go through Compete For. So those opportunities to work with them, you work with us and you work through Compete For to help identify who they are going to be. Now, if you notice, a lot of the main contractors at Sizewell are the same ones that were at Hinckley. Part of the whole idea and concept of intelligent replication is exactly that. You take those learnings from Hinckley, bring them to Sizewell, because it will make it quicker, cheaper and more efficient and safer. So I don't know what's going to happen at Wilfer, but I would suggest that fleet effect of going from Hinckley to Sizewell and Sizewell to Wilfer will carry on. So therefore, those relationships and those ways of procuring should, in theory, as I see them, continue on onto the other sites as well. We will obviously be doing an awful lot of work in that area to open up those opportunities at other sites. And one of the other questions I've got, if Nicola's available, is obviously NSAN's there to support a business get into the nuclear sector, but can NSAN also support businesses get into some other nuclear projects as well?
Yes and no, and what we're always keen to do is manage people's expectations when they work with NSAN. So we can help you to support. We can support and help. In terms of the kind of right people to be involved in, the skills and the competencies that organisations will need to be able to effectively operate and ultimately bid for work in the industry and sector. We do have things like a member monthly update and newsletter which goes out, which obviously signposts people to opportunities, bids, tenders that are going live. We have quarterly networking member meetings where we bring our membership together, which is obviously a great opportunity for companies to do their own informal networking, along with hearing about other projects that will be taking place potentially outside of your region, Ash. So the short answer is yes, but equally to manage expectations, being part of NSAN doesn't ultimately ensure that you will win work. What it will do is equip you to understand what those opportunities are and what you will need as an organisation to effectively undertake those opportunities.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. And while I've got you, actually, then Nicola, just obviously you spoke about the three free places. Just for,
Yeah.
then for everyone on the call, what's the kind of costs of the Insight and the Gain program? Forgetting the fact that obviously you very kindly offered some of the supply chain members the opportunity for a little bit of an extra. What's the normal cost of those programs?
No problem. And thank you. I've already had one direct email grabbing one of those free places, so that's great to see. So typically a place on the Insight to Nuclear programme would be £1,200. Obviously the offer of a free place is ultimately saving a company £1,200. In terms of the GAIN programme, the Growing Awareness in Nuclear, we have different pricing structures. We do offer discounts for NSAN members, but currently as a non-member, you're going to be looking in the region of £645 per person to undertake the GAIN programme.
Fantastic. And on that final thing, when you talk about, because I know you said earlier there's like 10 businesses, so 10 people. Do you mind just explaining why you kind of focus it on one person to cover off all of those areas?
Yeah, so actually I probably didn't make it really clear, Ash. In terms of those 10 places, those are ring-fenced for organisations. So it may be that dependent on the topic area that we're going to cover in one of the sessions, it might be that you would like your business development lead to attend and dial in, because that's their area of expertise. When we start to look at nuclear security, it could be somebody, for example, within your IT department that would get the most benefit from the sessions. So the sessions are not ring-fenced for one individual per se. It's more about the organisation, and then you can nominate the best person within your business to join those sessions. In terms of limiting at 10 people, we're keen to ensure organisations and companies involved get the best experience, and we feel that that's kind of an optimum number where people can share and learn from experience, but equally get the most from the subject matter experts, the trainers and presenters that will be leading the sessions. So hopefully people will be able to get the most from it.
No, fantastic. Thank you. And just for everyone else, when Nicola talks about £1,200 and the costs of that, and how much you actually get for that, personally would say it's pretty good value for money as well. But there will be funding support that could potentially be available as well. So again, when we talk about these things, There's lots and lots of training out there. Obviously, Nicola's talking about the Insight program, but that's then where Richard comes in, and ourselves as a chamber and other mechanisms that we can connect you into, like the Growth Hub locally, that actually can then maybe help you understand where the funding is to support these types of things, because there is often funds out there. It's quite an eclectic landscape of funding and business support. But that's why you have the likes of us as a Chamber of Commerce, and I speak on behalf of all 6 chambers for this region when I say that, but also the various different growth hubs that we have across this region, and other forms of support as well, like the colleges. So there is quite often support that can be there that can help with that type of cost, should it be needed as well. Richard, kind of to do with your programme, can it be utilised by businesses that are not in Suffolk?
Yes, absolutely. We have some of our different delivery is national. So if it's not in Suffolk, it's not a problem. We offer from North Norfolk down to London, I say, and some national. So it's not just strictly into Suffolk for us. No, not at all.
No, fine. And I think the key with that, and I say go back to when I said when we kind of looked at this program and this fund that was available to put this on, it is very focused on the energy sector in this region. But we do appreciate we have businesses in Norfolk, in Essex, in Cambridgeshire, and across our 6 counties. So we really just want to make sure these businesses understand that support is there if they're looking at work to particularly on Sizewell, that reach out to the team and there will be some times that you need a more localized service, but that doesn't mean that University of Hertfordshire doesn't have a fund like this as well, that we could then, if you reach out to us and you're a business, I don't know, in Luton, in Bedfordshire, for example, and you want to do something like this and it's just logistically doesn't suit for this program, still reach out to us, because then we can speak to our counterparts at, say, Bedfordshire Chamber or other routes as well, to then find out if there is something similar, because there normally will be. There'll be something we can reach out to in that regard. And if there isn't, and we know there's a need, then we take that information on board as well to then feed into what's needed. And I think the other thing you raised that's key, Richard, is this levy funds. I mean, I speak to EDF quite regularly, and for those of you on the call today who know how the apprenticeship levy works, EDF sit on a massive apprenticeship levy, and they are very, very happy to enter discussions with any business who are looking to take on apprentices with a view to Sizewell, even though you might be years away from your opportunity on Sizewell. They're very happy to transfer their levy, because they have a massive levy that they struggle to spend in the UK. And they would much rather give it to a local business to bring a person into this industry, particularly in the skills areas that are required moving forward, than give it back to the government. And that's nothing against the government. Whatever ends up happening in 41 days or whatever it is, it's much better spent getting people into work, into the right trades that we need in this area. I think I'm probably right with that, Richard.
Yeah, absolutely. And fortunately, the levy transfer is now so simple. And it's so much better used down the supply chain of large employers who know they are not going to spend the entirety of their levy. The money is there to use. So it's a nice, simple system. A lot of, say, Apprenticeships Norfolk and Apprenticeships Suffolk, who are organisations set up in the regions, they have I guess you could call it like a crowdfund or just giving page, particularly Apprenticeships Norfolk, where companies can literally register on the Apprenticeships Norfolk page of, we want to give our levy funds away, and people can then log an interest, and then a discussion is had. So a lot more companies are more aware of it now, which is great, because the funds are there to be spent.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. And I think one of the other points Richard made earlier was good. We're talking about upskilling of employees. I mean, it is so important. When I talked about the legacy piece earlier, that one of the key reasons the Chamber has been involved in this Sizewell project for so long, it's independently Sizewell. It's exciting and we want to be involved and we do a job. But it's what we believe the legacy of Sizewell can become. And we believe it can be better if we're involved and help shaping it. And it's exactly the same, speak on behalf of the colleges and the university, etc. as well, is actually if we're involved, we can make it much better. And that's going to be about upskilling the workforce, making those young people not have to travel away, making us have not just our strong sectors of agriculture, digital technology, tourism, but actually the energy sector. You know, it doesn't all have to go to Aberdeen. It doesn't all have to go down to the southwest now or the northwest if you're talking nuclear. That actually we can have these things here. So upskilling employees is key. And it's another part of social value that will help you win contracts. And of course, one of the biggest concerns we get from businesses is around displacement, because of this, you know, juggernaut that is Sizewell that's going to come in and need all these people. But actually, you know, if you're looking after your staff and upskilling them and giving them that opportunity to grow and develop and become better at what they do, then tied with us helping you get on a project like this, that's the way to prevent displacement, is actually you do the work yourselves. So that's really important. And I think because there's been a lot of talk just now about skills and apprenticeships, little plug that the next webinar we've got in June, which I'm just now looking at the date, 18th of June. We've already got a number registered and we're about to re-promote it again, but that's actually going to be with Suffolk County Council and the colleges that are very much going to talk about the skills piece. The previous webinar we did to this was very much looking at Sizewell's skills interventions that they've been putting in. That was a great webinar if you want to go back and look over it, because it kind of explained everything that Sizewell's trying to do. And the next one that we've got in June is then very much how we're going to put the local angle on that, how we're going to deliver this locally, and that we're not just looking at Sizewell. You know, Sizewell need their stuff. Then what we're going to look at as Suffolk PLC is actually what we want out of this. And the next webinar is very much going to touch on that, of how businesses can play their part in all of this as well. There's no other questions yet. If anyone does have any questions or any comments, please do continue to put them in there. We've got a couple more slides and I'll happily revert back to them. But as always, as we've said before, if you have questions, concerns that you want to talk about, then just that's what our team is there for. I know there was something else put in the chat a bit earlier, kind of asking how you become an approved supplier to get tender opportunities. Again, the way it starts is through our portals. So, you know, by registering on our portals, that gives us the opportunity to understand about you as a business. Our work at the moment is very much with the project, who are planning all of these pockets of work. And when I say they're varied, I mean they're varied, because at the minute we're looking for everything from the lead logistics provider to work for the next 12 years, moving the goods via sea, rail and road, and probably air by the time we're finished. I'm sure drone deliveries will be more of a thing in 10 years' time. We're looking for that. And then we're also looking today for nuclear consultancy companies. We're looking for dredging companies. And the other day we were looking for people that can design a BMX trap. So when we say all types of business have a role to play on a project like Sizewell, we genuinely mean it. So by signing up to these portals, you see where these opportunities are. That gives you the ability to bid for them, but then also gives you the ability to understand who is winning these pieces of work. And that's then where our role comes in. Because for a lot of local businesses, it would be lovely for local businesses to be winning lots of contracts direct with the client. But in the main, there'll be lots of very larger organizations winning these multi-million-pound contracts. But they will then need a very deep local supply chain at tier 2, tier 3 and below to deliver these packages of work. And that's where our support, identifying you, what you can do and who you need to be speaking to at the right time, is going to be key. And then again, the webinar we did 2 sessions ago, about three weeks ago, I think the start of May, very much touched on that whole induction process. So you as a business, should you be selected by a tier 1 contractor to work on the project, that process you go through. So again, cast your eye over that when you get a chance. That was with Sizewell, and a very interesting insight into the things you can be doing now to get ready should you be successful. I think there's any other questions. Again, if any do come along, then please do let us know. But just as a couple more slides from me. One, the plug for Compete For. Appreciate this is now an old picture, because actually there's a number of opportunities on there from the last couple of weeks, and we know there is more before the end of May that will be appearing. So, you know, it is worth making sure all businesses please sign up to Compete For. As I say, probably 95, if not more % of you will never actually bid for any work on Compete For because of the size of the contracts that are going to be talked about. But it's vital that you're part of that conversation, able to express your interest when the opportunities do come along that are relevant to you, but also to be able to keep an eye on who's winning the work. what businesses are being given the tasks to deliver the link road, to deliver the logistics service, to go and deliver the dredging service off in the North Sea, to build the tunnels 2.5 kilometers out into the bay, whatever it may be, so that then you can see, right, fantastic, I need to be speaking to that business. That's where you reach out to myself and the whole of our team and say, can you do us a favor? Can you make us an intro? Can you set up an event? Whatever it may be. So please, make sure you get signed up. Again, you'll be sent these links, but that way, at least, we're currently redeveloping this site, so there's more information on there. All of these support programs, as well as our website, will also be hosted onto Compete For, because eventually, at some point in the near future, we will migrate everything onto Compete For. So there'll be one place for all information on the project, all of the support that we give, but importantly, most importantly for you as businesses, that timeline and that forward view of opportunities, so that you're not just seeing them when they become live, you're seeing them 6 months in advance of them becoming live, to help you start to plan and get ready for what is coming. This is a 10 to 12 year project. It is huge. We've said this ourselves for years. It's a 10 to 12 year project, but it's only when you put it into common themes. My son is 6. So by the time this project's finished, he'll be an adult. He'll have gone through his entire education life, depending if he goes to university, obviously, throughout this project. And it's when you put it into context like that, that the entire childhood of my son is going to be spent building this thing, that the opportunities will come, but they will keep coming. And they will come in different guises and different ways. And there'll be plenty of businesses that will do stuff on Sizewell in a few years' time that they're probably not doing as a business now. And that's where we'll help you to identify those opportunities. We've got an email. Have you given us your contact email, Ashley? I haven't, but it will be shared. When I send out, it would have been myself sending some of the messages out with regards to today's links, etc. And I will ensure that you've got my details, our team's details of how to get in touch with us should you wish to. And there's another one. Will major contractors PQQ need to be completed even if you are registered with Compete For? So yes, Compete For is purely for expressions of interest. So that is where they will be as transparent and as public as possible on the opportunities that are there. So it will be expressions of interest for packages of work. It will be expressions of interest for information. It will be expressions of interest for the long listing and the market surveying. There will be so many different aspects of what Compete For will be used for, but it is that first step of the procurement. So if I take for all the major packages that are happening at the moment, Compete For is stage 1. After that, it will go through to the PQQ, which will be done through a platform currently called iValuer. And that may change and adapt over time. But it is about making sure that the first step, Compete For, that you're registered onto it, and then PQQ and invitation to tender, best and final offer, and all them other things will happen on external sites and external services run by either the tier 1 contractors, the alliances, or the project themselves. But again, that type of thing, the webinar 2 webinars ago, it's on our website. Please make sure you visit and have a look at it, because that type of thing was covered off in detail throughout that session. That one. Next slide from me. Normally, we like to show all of the other events that are coming up, and I appreciate, we have obviously got the webinar coming up in June. That's on our website for you to still book on, and please do, and I'll share the information on that when I send out the post-event links to you all that are registered today. And we're going to be at other events. I know we're at the CAMS B2B North event in Peterborough in a few weeks' time. Some of our team will be at the Suffolk Show next week, and plenty more. So we will continue to be out and about. But also what's key for us is, we'll go on a little break over the summer with regards to a lot of our events. What do you need? When we're going to get into the autumn, we will start to see a lot more public work happening actually on site itself. Hopefully by the end of this year, that have started the construction of the park and rides. Early next year, started the construction of the roads. So we're going to start to see lots more happening. There's going to be lots more opportunities coming forward. So if, these webinars, if they've been helpful, what other subject matters do you want to see covered? Because we think we know what you're going to need, and we keep working with the project to identify that. But we also want to know from you as the businesses what you want support on. And if it's then something that we hear regularly, or we think it's possible to do, then we will deliver that support to you, because fundamentally, we're here to help Sizewell deliver its commitments. But we're also here, the other end of that is actually to help local businesses gear themselves up as much as possible for what's coming. So please, reach out and tell us what you need, and then we'll come back to you on that. And it's kind of linked to the point that Norman's just put on the question. You know, accreditations used through the UK be standardised when working at Sizewell. That's something we're working on with the project now, Norman, and very soon we'll be sharing that information with you. Because what's key for us is if there are accreditations or certain things that are going to be needed as non-negotiables, prerequisites on Sizewell, similar to what there were at Hinckley, then we'll be letting you know. And the whole aim, again, this whole fleet effect, replicating Hinckley to Sizewell, is hopefully then going to be the same from Sizewell to Wilfer and some of these other projects. So we as Suffolk Chamber, okay, we only have a little role to play in that regard, but we're trying to make sure that that role is then replicated as much as we can around the UK on other projects. So we will be doing as much as we can on that. And as soon as we've got that information on those standards you need, we will 100% ensure that they are shared via a webinar, shared with all businesses through our newsletters, which is another reason to sign up for the portals, because we can share this information to you. But also things like that will be hosted on Compete For as well. So with that answered and no further questions, we have come to the end. Extra 20 minutes back of everyone's day, which is always nice. As I say, early part of next week, you will get sent the slides from today, the copy of the recording, links and email addresses, etc. will be available as well, so that you have everything you need. But please don't be afraid, reach out to our team. If you've got questions specifically around what you've learned today from Nicola and from Richard, just reach out to them. They're there to support you as well. We want to make the most of Sizewell. We want Sizewell to be successful so that we continue to build these things elsewhere, but also from a local perspective that these other energy projects then stand up, take notice of the work that Sizewell is doing to promote the local supply chain, so that we get more local businesses doing offshore wind, more local businesses doing hydrogen and free ports and infrastructure and all these other things. So, don't be afraid to stay in touch with us. Thank you very much, obviously, for joining today, and I wish you all a lovely bank holiday weekend. Thank you very much.